we're inviting City Church regulars to participate in a day of fasting this Friday. And I realise that not everyone can do that. Perhaps health or circumstances will mean that you can't do this. But let me reassure you that it's only for a very set period of time. Perhaps after Thursday dinner to pre-Friday dinner, or after breakfast on Friday and ending pre-breakfast on Saturday. But it's not something that we've done very regularly here at City, and so it's helpful to see what Jesus says about this very ancient Christian discipline. So come with me to Matthew chapter 9, verses 14 to 17. The passage says this: Then John's disciples came and asked him, "How is it that we and the Pharisees fast often, but your disciples do not fast?" Jesus answered, "How can the guests of the bridegroom mourn while he is with them? The time will come when the bridegroom will be taken from them. Then they will fast. No one sews a patch of unshrunk cloth on an old garment, for the patch will pull away from the garment, making the tear worse. Neither do people pour new wine into old wineskins. If they do, the skins will burst, the wine will run out, and the wineskins will be ruined. No, they pour new wine into new wineskins, and both are preserved." Really interesting words, aren't they, from Jesus on this subject of fasting. And in short, this passage, Jesus is being criticized because his disciples are not fasting. And in it, Jesus teaches two things about what fasting means to us today. Firstly, in verses 16 and 17, Jesus uses the illustration of not putting new wine in old wineskins, because if you do that, the old skins will crack and everything will be ruined. And he says that because he wants us to know that fasting for Christians is not the same as fasting in the past. It's not exactly the same as fasting in the Old Testament, the way they used to do it. And secondly, in verse 15, it teaches us that what makes fasting unique for the followers of Jesus is that it's something that Christians do when they are feeling the pain of waiting for Jesus to come back. And that's why Jesus says it doesn't make sense for his disciples to do something to express sadness at missing Jesus when Jesus is right there with them. After all, the worst time for a bride to be sad is on the wedding day with the groom. Well, that would be absolutely tragic, wouldn't it? No, rather, Jesus goes on to say, with expectation that Christians in the future will fast, that when he's not there in the flesh, as in Christians are waiting for Jesus to come back, well, there will be hard times when they're going to miss him, and then they'll fast. So here we are, 2,000 years since Jesus ascended to heaven, with the promise that one day he will return and fix everything and make it all new and take away sadness and death and wipe away every tear from our eyes. And here we are, feeling the pain of that wait. My cousin Alvin died of COVID-19 just after Easter, and many of you have gone through immense difficulty and pain over the last few weeks. Don't we feel it more than ever, the longing of, please, Lord Jesus, come? Well, when Jesus talked about fasting 2,000 years ago, he was talking about times like this. You see, fasting is a denial of food for a period of time as a marker or expression of our pain and our longing for Jesus' return and his help. You know, if you go to most large buildings, you'll see on the wall there is a small red box that says, "In case of emergency, break glass." And if you do it for a short while, the world around you will be transformed into a place of intense alertness and awareness of danger and vulnerability. Well, as a kid, I had the huge temptation to see what would happen when I broke the glass and pressed the button. Well, for Christians, in case of emergency, fast. In case of big decisions where you don't know what to do, fast. John Piper describes fasting as a physical exclamation mark on our prayers, underlining our passion behind our plea that doesn't merely mobilize our words, but also our very bodies. I think that's a really helpful description, because after all, we're whole beings, hearts, minds, physical bodies. Isn't it thought-provoking to consider that God gives us a way of expressing the depth of our sadness that utilizes the whole person? You see, fasting, the denial of food for a set period of time, is an interruption of our usual rhythms, our usual feelings, for the sake of crying to Jesus. And as the felt interruption prompts us to continually pray, it helps us to say, help us, Lord Jesus. Heal us, Lord Jesus. Please come back soon. And that's why we're seeking to take some time this week to fast and to pray. So if you can, why don't you join us this Friday?